All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Harefield. I am the coordinator for recruitment and outreach programs here at the University of Maryland. And I'm here to present to you today on the on-campus living experience, the Maryland residential experience, as we like to call it, resident life here at UMD. I have a presentation to get us started this afternoon, runs about 12 minutes or so, and then I'm going to leave the rest of the time open for Q&A. So what you can do is video and audio for everybody is going to stay muted during the session, but except for mine, of course, my video and audio is on right now. I have a couple colleagues and student staff members who are helping me in the background, just kind of monitoring the chat and helping people get into the session. But you can feel free to post any questions that you have for the Q&A section in the chat, and I'll review those after the presentation and try to answer as many of those questions as I can. But to go ahead and get started, I'm going to switch over to sharing my screen so that we can go through the presentation. You get to learn a little bit more about our Maryland residential experience, and then get to that Q&A. Let's see. And here we go. All right. So, as I said, we're here to talk today about the on-campus living experience at the University of Maryland. Again, my name is Dan Harefield. I actually am an alum of the university. I went to school here from 2001 to 2005, and I was in the College Park Scholars Program. I lived in the Cambridge community. I served as a resident assistant, and then ended up coming back here to continue my time in student affairs. Here at the University of Maryland in resident life. So I am a Terp for life in so many different ways. I love the University of Maryland and certainly excited to chat with you all today to highlight more of what our on-campus experience has to offer. So living on campus, there are 5 key elements that are really vital to our Maryland residential experience program. I'm going to get into each one of these a little bit later in the presentation, but just to know that our on-campus experience is second to none, and we have a phenomenal set of supports for our students, that we offer opportunities for students to connect and really develop true friendships and support their academic success while they're here. There are opportunities to get involved and get the most of their college experience. Now, one of the benefits of the University of Maryland outside of the campus itself is the surrounding community. College Park is tucked between 2 major cities, our capital, Washington, D.C., and of course, Baltimore, just north of us. And both of those cities, as well as the surrounding area, provide so many opportunities for students to engage in athletics and culture, in opportunities for education, engagement, volunteering, health and wellness, so many different resources and experience here within the surrounding community that it really helps to enhance what we have to offer here on campus as well. Now, our campus population, and of course, one caveat to put into this presentation is that we are talking about our campus and the resident life experience here in the age of COVID. So our numbers that I'm presenting here are what our numbers would typically look like, not necessarily in a de-densified arrangement that we have now. So I'll speak to things in both contexts, more so in our full operation, and certainly can answer questions when we get to that part of this session today. But in general, we have over 30,000 undergraduate students that go here to the university. About 9,000 of them live on campus in our on-campus residence halls. And then we have a relationship with the Capstone Management Company that helps to run the business side of our public-private partnership with the South Campus Commons and Courtyards at Maryland. Now, on campus, with our residence halls, we have 37 total halls that are divided into 6 communities, including that South Campus Commons area. And the interesting thing about our on-campus experience is that we do not have a live-on requirement, but in a typical year, about 94% of our first-year students choose to live with us on campus. So there are certainly a number of reasons, which I am about to get into here, a number of reasons that you can really look to the residence hall experience and the ways that it enhances your overall college experience. And that's really all about the facts. There are 5 key elements, these here: friendships and connections, academic success, convenience and cost, 24/7 support, and student development. And these are things that we believe that we do extremely well for our students that they may not be able to get in other capacities, living off campus or commuting. And really, the on-campus experience provides the support for all of these. So starting with friendships and connections, again, of course, this is not a current picture, as people would be distanced and masked. But we really pride ourselves on the opportunity to create unbreakable bonds, have students make these connections when they first come to campus. We do that through a lot of event planning, welcome activities with RAs, with other students that are planned by university departments and student organizations, and really helping students make those connections when they first get here and establish those friendships over the time that they're living in the residence halls. Over the course of that first year living on campus, it really gives you a plethora of opportunities to engage with people who are different from you, who have common interests that you have, and really develop those connections along the way. Of course, being a university setting, academic success is extremely important to us as well. We engage in that area in a number of different ways. One of those is through academic partnerships that we call living learning programs. These are partnerships with academic programs where the students will live together in the residence halls and have a learning community that builds from that experience. So taking common classes together, not major specific necessarily, but taking common classes together, engaging in out of the classroom experiences together, and really developing a cohort of students associated with those programs. We also have academic success programs or academic support programs like the Math Success program, which is a coaching program for students who are struggling or want additional assistance in a lot of the common math-related courses that are here on campus. And then, of course, through the events that our RAs host that support academic success, there are additional opportunities to engage in that. We have a lot of spaces for students to work and study in, small lounges, private study lounges, larger lounges for group activity. So a lot of different options for students. If they don't feel like studying in the room, they will have other options available. And one of the things that has really been a key thing in this area is that living on campus has been shown to have a really positive impact on student success and performance. And living on campus for your first year, your first 2 years, has a strong positive effect on your ability to graduate on time and to be successful in that venture. So living on campus has a huge benefit in that area. Cost and convenience, convenience and cost. These are two very important elements for making a decision about what your plans will look like for attending the University of Maryland. Cost is one of those things which is a really big question. And what we do is we offer differential rates. So with multiple styles of residence halls and multiple styles of residence hall rooms, there are a lot of different options, and we have rated those options to provide different fees depending on the amenities that are associated. So a traditional double is going to cost a little bit less than a suite or an apartment. So definitely giving you the options to take that into account when you put your request in for what you would like to see for your housing assignment. From a convenience standpoint, living on campus means that all of the resources and all of the experiences that the campus has to offer are right outside your front door. So if you're off to class, if you're meeting up with a student organization, if you're going to an arts or athletic event, there are so many different things that are really just right outside your front door. And that convenience is a really huge benefit for our students living on campus. One of the other big things that we really like to focus on is that we provide support to our students in so many different ways. We have our resident assistants and resident directors that live directly in the communities, in the residence halls, and provide that support on a 24/7 basis. They are on call in the evenings and on the weekends. If there are questions or issues that pop up, we always have someone there to respond and help out. We have our service desks are 24/7 with students who staff those desks to provide support in terms of mail, spare keys, and questions about getting around campus. And even our residential facility staff is 24/7. We have an on-call staff. If there's ever a maintenance issue in the building, all you have to do is call for work and they'll come out to take care of it. The last thing to highlight is student development. And we know that students engage and grow in so many more ways than just in the classroom. Certainly, academic development is a huge part of the college experience, but outside of the classroom, there are opportunities to develop socially, culturally, politically, civically. So there are so many different ways that a student can learn and grow both in and outside of the classroom. And we try to provide a lot of those experiences to students through the Residence Hall program. One of those is through our employment. We have over 500 positions in a typical year between the resident assistants, community assistants who work the service desks, all of our office assistants, staff assistants, off-campus living consultants, et cetera. There are a ton of different student positions that we have available. In addition to employment, we have two big organizations that you can get involved in. One is the National Residence Hall Honorary, and the other is the Residence Hall Association. Both of those are leadership organizations that really help students to advocate for other students living in the residence halls. In particular, the Residence Hall Association is the group that coordinates our hall and area councils, where students can take on leadership positions at the building level and advocate for resources or building needs or anything that they would like to put forth in support from both the larger RHA organization and the department at large. So there are a lot of different ways to engage and grow, and certainly the residence halls try to capitalize on those opportunities. Now, to talk a little bit about housing assignments information, there's a little bit of extra detail on this slide, but I think where I want to focus mostly is what the options are in our residence halls. And in a moment, I'm going to talk more specifically about the communities around campus. So first of all, we have 4 different size types of rooms. So we have singles, we have doubles, triples, and quads. And you can see the chart here in the middle of the screen that singles make up the smallest overall percentage, whereas doubles are definitely the significant largest percentage of rooms we have available to students. So in a regular year, most students would have 1 roommate. That's something that we work out over the course of the summer. After the deadline to submit your on-campus housing and dining agreement, we work with students directly to get information about preferences, allow for an opportunity to search for roommates, and try to work that out before we get to the end of July, early August, to make sure everyone has a place and that they know who their roommates are. We do have triples and quads on campus, but obviously the size of the rooms will be a little bit bigger for those. And then the singles, just to go back to that for a second, most of our singles are going to be picked up by our returning students or the RAs, so there typically aren't a lot for first-year students. So the likelihood is to plan to have a roommate your first year, again, assuming we're back to more of a regular operation. Now, also to keep in mind in terms of the way that we work with our housing assignments is that our living learning programs and these learning communities that I had mentioned a little bit earlier on a previous slide, that they have predetermined housing in our different residence hall areas or different communities. And I'll highlight that a little bit when I break down the communities. The last thing I want to highlight here is that we have mixed gender and gender inclusive housing options. And essentially mixed gender housing, the individual bedrooms are still single gender, but on a traditional hall floor, you might alternate room to room, male, female. The bathrooms are still single gender, and there's a bathroom available for men and women on different parts of the floor. Gender inclusive housing is something that students can sign up for, and if everybody within a group that is planning to live together in a suite or apartment agrees to that, they can determine what their arrangement is, who lives in which bedroom, and there's an approval process that they go through for that with our assignments office. Now to talk a little bit about our different sides of campus. So North Campus is where we have mostly our high-rise traditional style buildings, broken down into 3 separate areas: Cambridge, Ellicott, and Denton. The Cambridge community is home to our College Park Scholars program, which is one of our larger living learning programs here on campus. There are actually 12 sub-programs of College Park Scholars that are themed around different topic areas, including things like media, self, and society, the arts, life sciences, science discovery in the universe. So just to kind of give you a sample of the different topical areas that they have. And then in the Ellicott community, Hagerstown Hall, which is one of the 3 buildings in that community, is home to our University Honors Program. And our honors students live and learn together within that building there. And Gemstone is also there in the Ellicott community. And then the Denton community has a combination of our other living learning programs on North Campus, Plexus and Vertus being both engineering-based programs, BioFire being a research-oriented program, and the Carillon communities, in some ways similar to College Park Scholars, being thematic in terms of their focal areas, in thinking about things like activism and sustainability. Those topics are a little bit more flexible year to year. On North Campus, we currently have over 5,000 students, about 5,500 students that live across those buildings. And one thing that I'll highlight at the end of the session here is some exciting news about expansion on North Campus. On South Campus, we have 2 main communities, North Hill and South Hill. North Hill is mostly a traditional style community, smaller buildings than the North Campus high-rises. There is one building that is apartment style, which is connected to one of our living learning programs, the global communities. And then we have in Oakland Hall, that is Oakland Hall's North Campus. Prince Frederick Hall on South Campus has a combination of regular traditional style and semi-suite style housing, which that building also houses our ACES and DCC programs. ACES being cybersecurity, DCC being digital cultures and communities. The other programs there, living learning programs, are scattered throughout the North Hill area. South Hill doesn't have any living learning programs directly in that community, but is a combination of pretty much all of our styles of housing. We have mostly apartments and suite style scattered throughout those buildings on South Campus. We do have one building which is traditional style, which is actually also an all-women's building. But across South Campus, we have about 3,200 students. The final community to highlight here is South Campus Commons, so also on South Campus, but this is one of those associated with the Capstone Management Program. Has about 2,200 students that live across 7 buildings. Housing priority for these buildings goes to rising juniors, particularly those that have lived on campus for their first 2 years will get the highest priority to get into these apartment style buildings. I mentioned before South Campus Commons and Courtyards. Courtyards is off the north side of our campus, and while that is also part of the Capstone Management Program and goes through the same room selection-like process for students applying to get into that housing, we don't actually staff any of our direct resident life staff in that space, but we do have resident directors and resident assistants that support the South Campus Commons community. Now, talking about the future, I talked about expansion on North Campus. We actually have 2 residence halls that are partway through construction right now that we are really happy are moving along over the past several months. It's been exciting to see them building and growing as we continue on into the semester. Those buildings will be open here within the next year and a half or so. But essentially it'll be 2 new buildings that have about 900 bed spaces across them. And additionally, there's going to be a new dining hall, a 3rd building within that community cluster. So we're looking forward to these buildings being finished, being able to house students in these new communities. And also that gives us some flexibility to continue our renovation project across all of our other residence halls. We have a strategic plan over the course of the next 10-15 years to continue to do upgrades to our other buildings, our existing buildings across campus. In kind of summary here at the end of the presentation section of the session, when we get to this point in the spring semester, hopefully you all are looking to apply and join me here as a TERP at the University of Maryland. Notification for the release of admissions comes out around February 1st. And then immediately starting the day of the release of admissions, we will open our housing agreement process. So you'll be able to apply for housing as soon as the admissions letters go out there in the spring semester. There is a $25 application fee that does not get assessed until you both confirm your admission and you receive your housing confirmation on campus. But what we like to highlight is you want to make sure that you meet that priority deadline for housing. Typically, it's May 1st. That might be a little bit flexible this year. We'll kind of have to see how things continue to progress as we get into the spring semester. But just one thing to note is that housing agreement will become available. It's best just to simply apply as soon as you can, even if you're in the process of making a decision, because you can always cancel it as long as you haven't made it all the way through into the middle of the summer when we're looking at actually confirming assignments.